looking forward to it.
Thank you. Well, good morning, church. Oh, I like that. What if I say buenos dias, iglesia? Buenos dias, see? See, I'm pretty sure that's all you need to know to go to South America, especially to Peru, where I'm from. And also, I think you might want to know where's the bathroom, right? ¿Dónde está el baño? That's it. That's all you need to know, your food to go. Where's the food? ¿Dónde está la comida? Well, it's a blessing to be here. Like Dan was saying, I met the Grays when we were figuring out the dates and everything. And I met the Grays when I was 6. I remember that because my sister was born when I was 6. And they went to Peru. I don't remember them much, but I just remember knowing somebody gave a blanket, like a little thing for my sister. And after so many years, my mom forgot about it. And she was like, oh, I have a blanket. Somebody gave it to me for your sister. And my mom was all like, somebody gave it to us. And then when they came to Peru, I think it was 5 years ago or something, we figured out it was them. We remember we had some pictures and everything. We figured out it was them. So it was such a great time remembering that and also getting to know here. Like Dan was saying, my family's from Peru. They're missionaries there. How many people were here on Wednesday when I was speaking? Okay, so I gave a little preview about my whole testimony back then. I accepted Christ when I was 7, back where my parents are working. It's called BCM. We own a property, a camp, where we can host around 200, 250 people. And they've been working there for the past 20-something years. It's been amazing. God has blessed us so much. We have a great family. I actually miss my sister more than my parents. But it's such a blessing to be here. And I think they want to come. I think they want to come again. I came last year with my parents, and with my dad, actually, sorry. And he was really excited to be here. My sister already wants to hold Gideon and just be with him all day. She was a little jelly that I was holding him, taking pictures and everything. She was like, I want to be there. It's such a blessing. And like I said, I accepted Christ when I was 7. When I was 13 years old, I remember the Lord calling me to become a missionary. I was at the BCM camp. It was summer. Right now it's summer for us, and it's really cold for me. But it's summer for us. And I remember I accepted Christ when I was 7 in the summer. And when I was 12, 13, I remember God calling me to become a missionary. It was at a camp. I remember we were talking about Isaiah and how he was willing to serve the Lord. And I was like, I want to do that, you know. But yes, you can have a secular job, you can have other stuff and also serve the Lord. But I was feeling that he was calling me 100% to be in the mission work. So I remember going to church. My dad allowed me to go to church when I was 14 because transportation is kind of harsh. We were talking with Dan the other day, and if you drive in Peru, you can drive basically anywhere. Like, Peru is crazy. It's top 3 of, like, weird places you can drive. And we're top 3. And it's crazy. You wouldn't make it there. Even I'm scared when I'm there. So my dad allowed me when I was 13, 14 to go by bus to a church that was 30 minutes away. And I remember serving the church. I remember experiencing so many things with my friends. I was in the leadership position at the youth meetings. I remember playing guitar. I remember doing a lot of things inside of the church, and it was amazing. That's where I've learned my skills. That's where I learned what the gifts that God has given me when I accepted him, what kind of gifts I have. I was able to practice it. It was amazing. But I still had that promise. I still remember when I was 13 that I said, Lord, I want to be a missionary. After I finished high school, I was homeschooled, so don't think of me that's kind of awkward. I'm normal. Not all homeschoolers are weird. But I remember finishing high school, and the big question appeared, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? You know? I want to serve the Lord. I want to be in his ministry all the time. But how can I do this? So some doors got shut, and I remember being very disappointed, really sad. But then I started praying again, saying, Lord, whatever you want, I just want to do it. And I remember my parents also praying for me. My sister was sad that I was actually studying outside of Peru. And the moment came when Argentina appeared. You know, how many people have heard about Word of Life in New York? You know, it's an international mission, and they have one of the Bible institutes, one of the biggest in South America, in Argentina. And that's where I studied. It was in Buenos Aires in Argentina. It's a different culture. It's a different country. Inside of the Bible Institute, it's a whole different thing. So I remember praying for it a lot. I remember praying for it and saying, Lord, I really want to go there. I really want to study, but it's up to you, you know? Whatever you want, whatever you have, I'm going to be there. So he opened the door to study in Buenos Aires in Argentina and Word of Life at the Bible Institute. My family was really sad that I was leaving. All my family in BCM, because there's all their 15 missionary families living together, was also giving me goodbye parties and everything. I remember just going there. Without my parents, without anything. It wasn't my first experience of traveling alone. It was my first experience actually just living outside of my own country. It was so hard. It was so hard, but I remember just holding on to the Lord. The Bible Institute offers you a 3-year program, but they just added a 4th year. That's more like a missionary training. So I remember going there with my mind, I'm going to do all the 3 years. I'm going to have my life set. I'm going to serve the Lord. I'm going to do everything that He wants. I'm going to do it however He wants it. But the Lord changes your plans. The Lord, I don't know how many people experience this. It might be because I'm young and I've just the first time experienced it. But I went there with that mind. I was like, I'm going to finish 3rd year, and then I'm going to be set. God is going to open a door. God is going to do everything in my life. But that's not how it works. That was my plans. That wasn't God's plans. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about how God worked through my life and all this 3 years of Bible studies. But also I'm going to share with you some verses that were key for me, and I'm thinking it's going to be clear. It was going to be key for you too. I remember doing my first year. It was 3 years ago. Our school starts in April and it finishes in December. We have different seasons. Like I said, it should be summer for me, but I'm freezing cold. And right now we're going to start in April again, my last year of study. So my first year, I remember the Word of Life gave us so many keys, so many tools and everything so we can develop our faith, so we can develop our skills, and we can develop our gifts. And one of them is ministry. Word of Life gives you a ton of opportunities to serve. They can give you a local church that you can go on the weekends. They have a kids show that you can also do it on the weekends. And they have a theater play that you can also do it on the weekends. So basically you study it from Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday you are out serving the Lord, practicing what you have learned during the week or during your life. So on my first year, the ministry that I chose was called Renacidos, which in Spanish means born again. Basically, it takes a theater play about this couple who went to Word of Life in the 1980s, if I can remember. They were a very bad couple. I read their books. They have a book the wife wrote, and they were a couple who had HIV, who tested so many drugs, who had a horrible life. But when they accepted Jesus Christ, they went to the Bible Institute to study. And that's where she wrote the book. And the book is called Born Again. And that's a theater play. We took their lives and we took it outside to Buenos Aires in Argentina. It was so crazy. We went to so many prisons. We went to so many schools. We went to so many parks to share His word, you know. I have my friends, I met them there, and I don't know if you can see it. I'm there on one of the final songs and performances. So it was a group of us that every weekend we took a bus and we just go wherever they had planned us to go. It was amazing. It was so good, and it was so refreshing, per se. The other thing that the Bible Institute wants you to really focus is in your study on the Bible, you know? One of the mottos that they have is that we're not trying to raise theologians, I think it is, theologians? Yes. We're not trying to raise those kind of people. We're trying to raise servants, because servants help. Servants serve. So I think it's useless if you have all this knowledge of the Bible, but you don't practice it, you know? And that's what they're trying to teach us, you know? That's why on the weekends we practice. We go outside and preach. We go outside and meet all these people who have different questions like you and I, so we're able to answer with our Bibles, not with our knowledge, but with the Bible. So with the Bible Institute, this is all the subjects I had to study in my first year. It was crazy. It was really basic theology at first. You know, it's first year, everybody. Some people just accepted Christ as soon as they finished high school. Some of them accepted Christ during the way of the Bible study. So this is some of the subjects that I was taking on my first year. And there's some of the pictures. Every Wednesday night, there was a group of students who gathered together and prayed for different countries. And one of them was Peru, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm going to join these people of Peruvians and to pray for Peru every Wednesday. There was another group of Mexicans. There was another group of Americans. So there was all these people on Wednesday nights gathered together to pray for Peru, to pray for all these different countries. I have my friends there. I remember on one weekend we had to stay because it was like raining, and we had to do like a youth meeting with all the 500 students who were inside, and they allowed me to play a song with my friend. I remember doing a special lunch, a Peruvian lunch. I don't know if you guys knew about this. Maybe I told it enough because I'm really proud of it. Peru won for the 8th time in a row best culinary destination according to the World Travelers, which is like the Oscars of the countries. So Peru just won for the 8th time in a row, and I'm just saying it's the best. I think it's a curse to be Peruvian because once you've tried Peruvian food, all the other food, it's like, meh, it's okay. So, Mom, you cook very good. So I remember it was our Independence Day. It was on July 28th, and we gathered together with all the Peruvians at this missionary who was also Peruvian in Argentina, and we made a whole meal and everything. We just had a good time. So basically, that was my first year. And this is one of the verses that helped me throughout all that year. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Blessed be the God and the Father of our Lord, Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." This is an ESV translation. Why am I marking on yellow the born again thing? Because that was the theater play that I was in, you know. You and I were born again to share this living hope to other people too. And that verse really stuck with me the first year. I remember I went into this ministry. I got into the ministry. I got accepted to it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to share his word. You know, I'm used to just preaching to kids because that's my parents' ministry, children's ministry. But then you have all these adults, all these people who are so skeptical. Some of them are atheists. And you have to, you know, they challenge you. And you have to respond to them with love, but with the Bible. Because it's a living hope. It's not a dead hope. You know, it's a living hope. And we're born again. And we have to share that. So that stuck with me the first year. And I went back home, and I saw the little thing that you guys have for Pennies for Peru. I don't know if you heard about it, but we have a Christmas season of Pennies for Peru that is every December. We have 10 days, consecutive days, that we go out to all of Lima to preach his word with 3 groups to 60-plus churches, morning and afternoon, every day. By the 6th day or 7th day, you're tired already. You hear the puppets singing the same song. You hear the clowns saying the same jokes, and you just have to be like, I never heard this song. So it gets exhausting, but it's really nice. It's really nice. You can see all the faces of the children, everything. If you guys want to look it up, it's on Facebook, all the pictures of the Christmas season that we had. And it was amazing. And I went back home. I did camp season with my parents, but then I had to leave again. And I know my mom cries for me when I leave, every time I leave, but my dad says he doesn't. But then later that night, after I leave, my sister texts me and she's like, Dad is crying again. I was like, I knew it. He misses me. So that was my first year. And then in my second year, I took a different route. I decided to go and help a local church. Basically, you don't know what church you're going to help. You don't know what church you're going to face. You don't know the problems, the needs, everything that the church needs. So you're just basically saying, I want to go help a church. It doesn't matter. I started praying, and I was like, I want a church that I can, you know, use everything that you have given me, because I was in ministry since I was born. I don't remember not doing God's work. And they decided to give me a church. It was a small church, around 20 members, and 30-something people who came every weekend. And that's the pastor and his wife, and it was amazing. They had so many kids. They had a little bit of a youth, and we started working with them little by little. I remember doing the discipleship with 2 of the teenagers there, and I remember doing the first camp, this first church camp that they ever had. It was amazing. So I took this different route, and I remember the Lord blessing me in every way, because everything that I was doing, it was something that I already knew, or it was something new, but I already had the tools and everything how to do it. And it was amazing. It was unexpected how God can work through you if you just say, yes, I just want to go wherever you want me to go. And then the Bible Institute, that's all the subjects I had to study. It was a little bit more deep. It was a little bit more scary. It was a little bit more challenging to the studies. But I don't want to say I'm top of my class, but I was. Humility, I'm sorry. And then I have some pictures too. I remember we had a winter camp, and they allowed me to be a counselor. I had 10 kids, I think it was, and they came from all parts of Buenos Aires, and we had a good time on the winter, which is for us in July. I remember I was also an RA, I think that's why you call it here, an RA. I was in charge of a room with other 5 guys. One of the key experiences I had from being an RA, so the economic situation in Argentina is not doing good. So basically, if you have like $50, you're rich. So that's a problem for the Argentinians because of all the inflation and everything that's going on in the country. So I remember I had my own money in dollars, so I exchanged it. So it wasn't any problems for me. With the inflation, everything was fine. But in my room, I had other 3, probably 4 Argentinians who, they were struggling with money. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use a little bit of my money to help them out. it's a tradition that after every test week, we call it, and the next week on Monday when we gather together in a room, we order pizza, we order like empanadas or meat. So basically we just got together in our room to eat. And it was amazing because we gathered together and I figured out, oh, they don't have money, so I'm just gonna buy for them. You know, I don't mind. I'm okay. I can, rearrange my money. I can do everything so I can help them out. So I did that. And by the end of the month, I started doing, not taxes papers, but just the receipts and everything. I'm kind of nerdy in that area. And I started doing it, and I remember I had my money back. So it was like I didn't spend the money. And I remember that night praying, God, I have the money that I spent on them. It was the exact same money I already paid. I'm not crazy. I remember paying. And I was like, why is this happening? And one of the key lessons I've learned was, if you give with a good heart, the Lord will pay you back. Doesn't matter if it's with money, with time, with family, with, I just wanted them to enjoy it. And they did it. It was just with food, yes, but they enjoyed it. And we had a good fellowship, we had a good communion. Some of them still text me. Some of them just say, I've been praying for you, bro, for your trip and everything. And it was amazing. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think it's on your far left down. I took a group of Americans to Peru. They have their December break, and I took some of them to do paintings for Peru. They had an amazing time. We spent also the 10 days, 60-plus churches, just going out and preaching the gospel, just reaching the kids. And some of them want to go back. I think next year they want to go back to Peru to do the Pennies for Peru thing. And it was amazing. On Wednesdays, like I told you, that every Wednesday night we gathered together to pray for Peru, they all came into agreement to choose me as their leader. So every Wednesday night I had to bring reports from BCM, reports from Word of Life, from different missionaries. Your church, I remember praying for your church one Wednesday night, and it was amazing just to see how many people got connected. And some of them already knew people from other churches and everything, so we just expanded our Wednesday nights. We needed more than 2 hours to pray, I remember. And then this is the verse that stuck with me that year. It says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Hebrews 13:16. It's a sacrifice to serve others. It takes your time. It takes sometimes money. It takes sometimes something that you were doing before, but that's something that pleases God. And if you do it with a good heart, like I was telling you, it will please God. So on my second year, something that I've learned was I need to serve others, doesn't matter what. I remember I was discipling this kid. He was around 13, 14 years. And that week, the preachers on the Bible Institute were trying to teach us that ministry is opportunities, Sometimes there's a small opportunity, you just have to grab it, and that's ministry. You can help other people. I think it was Wednesday night. I remember going to my dorm. It was already past 11. And that's when I figured out I was old, because past 10, I'm already sleepy. So it was past 11, so I was like zombie. I was just going to my room. I was like, nobody talk to me. I'm just going to go to my bed. I was in my bed, putting my phone to charge. I was already, turning my upside down. And then I heard my phone ringing. And I was like, hopefully it's just my mom. And then I saw the text, and there was this kid from church and saying, Jeremy, I need your help. I was so tired. I was like, okay, I'm going to answer him, what do you need? And then he texted me back, said, I think my parents are fighting. I think they're going to get divorced. So I called him that night. I went out. I remember I got yelled for going out of my dorm around past 11. And I was just like, no, I'm doing ministry. You taught me that ministry is opportunity. Just give me 1 minute. So I was talking to this kid, and I remember I helped them. We prayed together. I don't want to say their parents, because they're not Christians. They got divorced on the way, but at least he understood that that wasn't God's purpose, So ministry is opportunities, and it's a sacrifice to help others. So that's something I learned in my second year. And then I went back home. I did the whole Pennies for Peru thing. I remember going to the Word of Life camps now. I wasn't able to do camps at BCM where my parents work. I needed to go to do camps at Word of Life. I remember going there. I missed my family too in Peru. And then I went back to do my third year. This was last year. This year was a game changer. Not because it was my last one and I was like homesick and I was missing my family or missing my friends, but God works in unexpected ways. Ministry, the church called Word of Life, saying that they wanted us back, because it was me and my friend who went to the same church to help on the weekends. And they called Word of Life, and we're like, we want these guys back. And I was like, I thought I did something good. So I remember discipling another 2 kids too. One of them was 18, 19. That's the guy on your far right down. Yes. His name is Leo. He got married. He's 21. He's 21. He already has a 1-year-old kid. It was his first time preaching last year. I remember we started in April. I started discipling everything. And then by July, the pastor was like, do you want him to preach? Do you think he's ready? And I'm like, maybe. So I started talking to Leo, and Leo was like, no. That's your job. You guys do it fine. No, that's not my job. I was like, you can do it. It's easier than it looks. And he was like, no, that's not me. But then we started talking. We started figuring out what he likes, what God was speaking through him. And then by the end of the year, he preached. And I remember he was up front he was like this. He didn't let go of this. And then he started using the microphone, and I was on the way back, like a mom taking pictures. And I was like, oh my God. And then he was on the way back just with a microphone, and he was like this. And he was like, Jeremy, I'm nervous. I was like, don't say that. We didn't practice that. Just keep going. And then he was like, oh yeah. So he started preaching and everything. He did such a good job to be his first time. If you see on top, that's him with all the other kids around. And we had more ministries that third year, last year. We had soccer ministry. We had breakfast with men. We call them because some of them are teenagers still. The ladies were gathering every other Friday. We had our second camp, and we were reaching more and more. Now the church, I think it has around 40 people, and most of them are adults who are bringing their own families. One of the issues that we had around church that year was the Pentecostal church around our church. Some, I don't want to say they were not saved, they were preaching bad, but the way they practiced it was kind of wrong. I remember going to this lady's house. It was a Saturday morning, so we were going out, handing out flyers, so they can come to our church. We were just inviting people outside on the streets, and we were at this lady's house. We knocked the door, she got out, and we were able to see the inside of her house, and you could see that she was poor. She didn't have anything. And we started talking to her. It was like, oh, we have a church, we come from this. And the lady was like, oh, no, you know what? Church is not for me anymore. And then the question was, what do you mean not anymore? And she was like, well, I went to this church, and it was a Pentecostal church, and they said that it was a moment of the offerings and the tithings, and they said that if I didn't have money, I can't come to this church. That's what they said. And it broke my heart, because I was like, I'm sorry, lady, but that's not church. That's not what the Bible says. Jesus wants your heart first. That's what he wants. He wants you to come because you love him, not because you need to pay him. He already paid for you on the cross, and he's giving you this by grace. So the lady understood that, and us as a church, we were able to help her out. The pastor's wife went with a little donations with clothing for her daughters, for, kind of food so that we can help her out, and she came to our church. It was amazing. But the question was, do we have to do something? It was the Lord. We didn't do anything. It was the Lord who put us in that position to preach this lady. And she came to the church, and we started preaching to other people, and that's how we reached most of the community. We're still trying. I think that I'm going to go to this church again this year, and they say they're going so good. Every Saturday they're gathering together with the youth meetings, with the Bible clubs for the kids. It was just amazing. And I'm really eager. I can't wait to go back to these people. They turn to be my family now. So if you guys ever go to Argentina, you have a bigger family over there. This is the Bible Institute. This was last year. I tell you, it was more and more deep theology. Sometimes it got confusing. We had to use math. I didn't know I had to use math for Bible, but we did. It was hard. And like I said, third year was a game changer for me at the Bible Institute. I remember, like I told you in the beginning, doing all the 3 years, and then I was done. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the Lord. I'm going to do whatever he wants. Maybe in my church, I don't know, whatever shows up. But then God had a different plan. On my third year, I remember doing most of the translations from Spanish to English and English to Spanish. And the Bible Institute, they have a bilingual program, which is Americans and Europeans coming to Argentina to learn Spanish. Most of them are teenagers, so if you guys have somebody to want to go to Spanish and the Bible, you guys can send them there. It's a nice place, so I was translating for them the most of the time. And also, one of the greatest blessings, I was able to translate a whole class with an American. I was able to translate it to Spanish. So I was doing a lot of stuff for Word of Life, without asking them to notice me. I was just doing to serve. And I remember, I think they caught their attention, and I was like, I think this is not it. And then this showed up. because I was scared. I was afraid of what the Lord had for me now because on my plans, on my decisions, I already had everything planned. But then this verse appeared and it was like, there's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. Casts out fear. I was scared of the Lord changing my plans, but I was like, I love you. So that should be it. That should be everything. The way that I see this verse is, imagine a mom with his kid on a zoo. And out of a sudden, the zoo falls down to the lion's, area, and the mom is afraid of the lion. But because she loves her kid, she's going to go and pick it up and take him out. Because she loves the kid more than her fear. So that came up to me, and I was like, I just got to follow you, whatever you want, Lord. I know this is my plans. I know I'm scared, but you can do something even better. So here's everything again. And then the fourth year appeared. This is the last year. It's more like a missionary training, and I think it's gonna be good for me because it's gonna have all these tools, and we're gonna work with people who are Jew, Muslims, people with disabilities, with parents. It's gonna help you in a more ministry mission type of area. So this is something that's gonna show up for me this year. It's amazing. I am still seeking what the Lord wants in my life. There's some missionaries who came and talked to me, and some of them try to offer me a position there or sometimes in other places, but I just want to do what the Lord wants. This is my prayer request that I have for me and also for my family. I've been trying to raise support for my last year of studies, which is $4,500 that I need. That covers food, tuition, and housing for the whole year. And the Lord has been faithful. I don't want to say He hasn't. He has been faithful all these 3 years. My parents are missionaries. We don't have all the money in the world, but people have been helping out in ways that I can't even explain, in ways that I have never imagined. The Lord was there. He was like, this is where I want you to be. And this is no other case. He has still been helping me. Also pray for my family who's in Peru. They're going through a transition. Just pray for them for their ministry also. And wisdom for me so I can follow God's will. I don't want to do my will. I want to do His will. I want to make sure that plan A is whatever He wants, not whatever I want. And also, if you guys can pray for the strength of the church in Argentina, It's a church that's small, but I believe it could be very powerful for the community. They were already trying to think of ways of helping out. They're just waiting for us to go back and bring new ideas for the church and everything. So just pray for them. Just pray for the church. Well, that's a little bit something about my life. I really appreciate if you guys can pray for this and also pray for my family in Peru. If you guys ever want to go to Peru, please talk to the Grays. They're more Peruvians than I am, I guess. So just talk to them, and well, that's it. Thank you.